Hey, what's up guys? Tim Gillette here, Morningstar Jiu Jitsu Denver. Want to make a quick video for my students. I had one of my friends, Jason, comment on a post that I had on Instagram, and he said, you know, take this time that you're having to stay at home, you can't be out at the gym right now because of the coronavirus, to work on your flexibility, try to get flexible. And I thought I would make a quick video on hip flexibility and dexterity. Flexibility of the hips is something that is really important in Jiu-Jitsu. You're going to use your hips a lot, very important. And the more flexible you are in your hips, the better you can kind of escape some positions and work different things. I've had a lot of new students come in, and after the first few weeks, they're saying how their hips are sore, their hip flexors, and it's because we're using them in ways that you don't normally use them, right? When somebody's trying to pass your guard, they're forcing your leg down, you're trying to resist, lifting back up. If you're playing guard, you've got your closed guard, you're squeezing, same with arm bars. There's a lot of kind of squeeze and push and pull and moving around to the hips right there. And it's common for people early on to kind of get sore hips as they learn how to use their legs and as their legs adapt to jiu-jitsu. So first thing I want to do is just go through some ways to increase your flexibility, something you can do at home right now since nobody can train. And it's going to start with on my back, right? And you can do this stretch sitting up on the couch, things like that. I like doing it on my back. So if I'm on my back here and I want to work on stretching out my hip, it's all about opening up the hip, right? Pushing it outward. Now, one thing that some people do here, they make the mistake of pulling the foot towards the chest right here, which if you're already flexible, that's fine. But if you don't have that flexibility in the hips yet, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the knee. So I don't recommend pulling that foot towards the head to stretch out the hip. Instead, I like to keep this leg up, put my foot kind of braced against the top of my thigh, and instead push down right here. Because now you're going to feel the stretch. It's not going to put torque on the knee, like if you're pulling over here, you've got this long lever that you're pulling on to put torque on the knee. Now I'm just pushing away and I'm stretching out that hip, right? And you can do both kind of kinetic or static type stretching, so you can just kind of move it around just to kind of warm it up right here. And then you can always work on gaining some flexibility here by stretching and holding. Something else that I do here is I do like a resistance stretching, where I'm pushing down to stretch out my hip, but I'm also pushing back into my hand. So I'm going to push into my hand, maybe you hold it for 10 seconds, and then when you release and relax, a lot of times you'll gain a little bit of flexibility there, you gain a little bit of range of motion. And now you can push it a little further, same thing, push back into the hand, and now when you release, you gain a little more distance there. So that's one stretch that I really like to do is I'm working on my hips. And my right knee in this scenario, the further it is from my body, the less stretch you're going to get. So if you're not as flexible in the hips yet, you can start with your knee further from your body. And as you're more flexible, you can bring that knee up towards your chest and then really stretch that hip out. And again, I'm pushing back into my hand. And then when I let go, you can gain some flexibility right there. And do that on both sides. And again, you can do this sitting on the couch. I can go here, and the further this foot or this knee is from my chest, then I can stretch down. And if I'm more flexible, I can pull it in, and that gives me more of a stretch from already flexible. All right? So that's one of the stretches that I really like to do to gain kind of hip flexibility. The next one I do is the basic kind of butterfly stretch here, where I'm trying to get my knees down to the mat. Now, I always recommend, if you're not very flexible in the hips yet, starting with your feet out further away from your body and try to get your knees to go down to the mat. And again, you could sit here and just kind of do a little bit of a bounce and just kind of warm them up, things like that. And then try to push down to hold. And then again, I'm pushing my knees up into my hands. Hold it for 10 seconds. Then when you let go and relax, you'll gain some flexibility there. As you start to gain your flexibility more and more, now you're going to pull those heels in closer to your body. Do it again. Pull those heels in. Do it again. And if you get your heels all the way in and your knees can hit the mat, now it's about stretching forward, trying to get that head down to the mat right there and really working on those hips, right? And always remember, if you're working in a stretch, when you come out of the stretch, come out of it nice and slow so you don't injure yourself, because that's the last thing you want to do is get injured right now while you're sitting at home and you can't train anyway. The last part of this is dexterity. And dexterity is more about moving your legs in this scenario, because we're working about the hips, without grabbing onto the foot and pulling it and moving around. So what I like to do is I like to give my foot like a target to aim for. So my knee right here. So I'm just going to lift my foot, touch my toe to my knee. Now I can move my knee over here. Bring it over, touch. Now I might move it up closer. Touch. Move it down there. Touch. Switch to the other side. It's all about just kind of getting accuracy with moving your foot, and I'm not grabbing it with my hands. I'm just using that dexterity right there. And the more you do this, the more you're going to find you're going to be able to move that foot and be more accurate with how you can get that dexterity right there and where you can place your foot. And that's really handy when you're playing butterfly guard, escaping from side control, playing in half guard, working into butterfly hooks. Very important to have that dexterity. It helps out a lot in jiu-jitsu. So if you're sitting at home, you're bored right now, you can be watching TV or something like that, and you could just be working on your dexterity right here. All right? Give yourself different targets, different places to kind of aim for and try to touch. If it's too easy, move it up here closer to your body. It's hard to get up there. I did cheat a little bit. I brought my knee to my foot. But work on that. You're sitting at home. You can stretch out, work those hips. So when you come back to jiu-jitsu, you're going to be more flexible. Your hips are going to be stronger. You have more dexterity, and you'll be able to move even better on the mats. All right? So give that a try. I hope that everybody's staying safe, everybody's staying healthy, and I look forward to getting back on the mats with you guys as soon as we're able to. Yeah. Stay safe.